Big day going live, everybody. You are smart? Question mark. So my whole goal today is to provide a 40-minute lecture. I just did a crazy sprint interval training workout where I'm trying to get better respiration of my mitochondria, and I am tired. So what I did is I went on the assault bike. I did a Tabata on the assault bike for 6 minutes. So I did 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off, 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off for 6 straight minutes. Try to get up to like a little over 2 miles. So I'm gassed. But what I wanted to do was give you guys a lecture on this concept that we're playing around with here at Garage Strength. That is essentially something that we brought up, myself along with some of the trainers in the back, thinking through the process for how we can improve training for on-site people or for off-site people, how you guys can improve if you're using the app, if you're using Peak Strength and you're inside of there, and then how eventually we're going to improve the overall testing as you get into the app so that we can constantly make progress. Have this be one of those community points, and ideally also the area where you guys can subscribe and be a member of that private lectures, which I actually did this last week in a private lecture. So the whole point is that when we're developing our training system here, I think it's really important to realize that we're in real life. You know, we're not creating content for the algorithm. We're not creating content for Instagram. We're not making broad, crazy claims that aren't unfounded. We actually are developing hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of athletes that we've gotten to the NCAA, that we've gotten to be NCAA All-Americans, national champions, that we've gotten to world championships in 4 different sports. So we're doing this stuff in real life. And I think one of the basis behind that is how we assess our athletes and how we look at what our athletes are doing, okay, when they come in the door. And they might come in the door when they're in 6th grade. They might come in the door when they're in 10th grade. They might come in the door when they're 25. And so what we're trying to figure out then is how can we assess people based off of specific populations, based off specific sports, and do it in a simple manner that requires the least amount of equipment. Okay, so somebody out there who has a gym or who has, even if you're an individual athlete, how can you then assess yourself or assess, a training individual, a training partner, so that you in turn can improve your programming or feed Peak Strength, our app, that assessment, so you have a better understanding of where you're at. Okay, so what we're going to be going through, I want to spend 20, 30 minutes lecturing on this, trying to explain what this individual assessment would be, how simple it is to work through that assessment, how you guys can then use that assessment to improve yourselves and improve your own personal training, and then we'll field those questions. So I want to go over the concept, and we've talked about this in the past, is rooted in baseball statistics. So in baseball statistics, there's something known as value over replacement player. And so value over replacement player is going to be who is the most normal player in the major leagues, okay? And if we can establish who that replacement player is, the absolute mean of the population of professional athletes that are in playing Major League Baseball, value over that would establish an individual's ranking. So if they are, under the VORP, or value over replacement player, then that individual is not going to be as valued to an organization. But if they're a high degree over, and I'm just thinking because I'm a Phillies fan, Bryce Harper, he has a tremendous value over replacement player. That's why he makes a lot of money. He's very, very good. He performs really well. Statistically speaking, he has a very high value, which then results in his financial reimbursement. Okay, so that's a way to think through it. So what we've created, instead of assessing athletes and saying, what's your value over replacement player, we've taken, and I'm looking for a marker, which I did not bring in with me. I'll have to use my shirt. So what we've created now is, instead of saying value over replacement player, we are saying normal person player, okay? So if we take a normal person player and we can use this concept, I need a marker. or shoot, eraser, sorry, Jason. Jason's coming to my rescue, and I said the wrong word. So if we take that normal person player, okay, and I want to draw out a couple questions in here about sprinters, jiu-jitsu, throwers, so let's give an example here with a sprinter, okay? So there's first, what we need to do is how do we break down a normal person player? So we're going to break it down into a couple different areas, okay? So we're going to go here. Okay. So the way to break this down is like, let's say jiu-jitsu guy, psychology of the fight comes in, okay? Or let's say Singh comes in the door, okay? Singh wants to learn about what are the best exercises for sprinters? Well, just hold on. We're going to explain how we can determine what those best exercises are based off of normal person player. So you're going to say, okay, what's the age? So the age, let's say the sprinter is 15 or the BJJ guy's 15 years old, okay? The experience, novice. They've barely ever lifted, okay? Gender, well, let's just say male, okay? Male, sport, sprinting, okay? So this is the start. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, okay, age, experience, gender, sport. Now, what we do based off of our information, because we train in real life here, we're not training an algorithm, we're training in real life. Now we can take this and we can start to play around with that big concept. So now we know that they're 15, they're novice, they're in sprinting, and they're male. So what we want to find is the normal person player for sprints. So what's that test going to be? What's the easiest test that we can do to assess somebody? And that's going to be, I'm going to show you shortly here. Squat, depth drop to bound, clean, and bench press. Okay, so let's say they do 9 feet. Let's say they clean 115 pounds. They back squat 35 pounds, and they bench 100 pounds. Okay. So every person that comes into your door, and let's say you have 20 sprinters. So 20 sprinters come into your door, and out of the average, you find that the person who's in the middle squats 135 pounds, directly in the middle. There's people above, there's people below. They have a depth drop to a bound, and this is going to be off a 12-inch box. It's 9 feet. They have a clean, it's 115 pounds. Bench, that's 100 pounds, okay? So what we end up doing then is that we can look at this. We go, okay, 150, 250, 259, 0. Okay, so 259, based off of this assessment, is the score for the normal person player. So hear me through this. Hear this out. Out of 20 sprinters that are in that novice age range of about 14 to 16, they're novice, they're males. Out of 20 individuals, okay, that are sprinters, the person who's directly in the middle, not elite, not poor athletic-wise, scores a 259. Okay, so that score is actually 0 on the assessment. Okay, for NPP, that's 0. So let's say someone comes in, and we know that 259 is 0, okay? 0 equals 259. Let's say another person comes in and they do this. They do 300, 310, plus 100, 410, plus 50, 300, 450, 460. It's so bad that took me a while. So now, okay, so 460 minus 259, 1, 5, right? 0, 2. So we are at, no, that's not right. Yeah, actually it is right. 201, okay? So this person is plus 201. So if our NPP here is 259 and this person just scored a 460, then this person, NPP, is plus 201. Okay, and I can say, well, his squat was 15 pounds better, his clean was 50 pounds better, his bench was 50 pounds better, and his broad jump was a foot better. Now we can go back and say, all right, these are all assessments that you guys could do at a Gold's Gym. You could do it at Planet Fitness if you wanted to. You could do this at in your garage. It doesn't matter wherever you're at. Now you have plus 201 is the NPP, so you know that this person's elite. Now, if I have a Division I NCAA sprint coach call me, I can say, hey, you know what? This individual is good. He's 15. He's plus 201 on our NPP score. So that makes it really easy then. And we can also look at, well, where's he better? Okay, he's better at these specific exercises. And then how can we improve? Where's that low-hanging fruit to improve this specific individual? So now, if we would go back, and we know that 259 is 0, let's say we have this, okay? We have someone who does 85, 8 feet, let's say 85, so that's 170, right? 178 plus 100, 278. So now let's say this person did a 278. So now they're actually, because they did a 278, they're plus 19. Okay, so they're plus 19. So this person's still better than the average player, the normal person player, but their clean isn't that good, and their squat isn't that good, and neither is this. And for a sprinter, those are really the numbers that matter. So the low-hanging fruit is going to be, let's get this squat up to 200 pounds. That's going to help get that broad jump up. Let's get that clean up to 185 pounds. Well, now that's where that low-hanging fruit comes into play, and all of a sudden this person's a plus 400. Because we can do simple assessments, and when we do a simple assessment, that guides us on our overall training, and when we are guided easily on our training, well, now we can improve upon that. So all of this comes back to then, now we can establish, okay, so if we have NPPs as coaches in real life, okay, normal person, average, so we have that, not avenue, but average here. So now we can start to look at populations that would be, sprints, field sports, court, combat, power, okay, endurance. So now we can take NPPs, okay, for sprints, field sports. So let's say field hockey, lacrosse, football, soccer, court sports, volleyball, tennis, basketball, combat sports. We look at MMA, wrestling, BJJ, power sports. Let's say shot putting, right? Endurance sports. Now we can look at, okay, somebody who's in a triathlete, or they're a hiker, or they're a climber. So now we can look at that and go, all right, well, what are our NPPs for this, okay? What are our NPPs for each area based off of age range, based off of quality of that individual group, novice, intermediate, elite. And then we start to piece all this stuff together and we go, all right, what's up, Steve? All right, all of this, Steve, you missed this last week talking about normal person players. Now, all of this comes back to, Steve's here. Steve's got wrestlers at high school, and he can establish what that normal person player assessment is for his entire team in a matter of 2 days of testing by just testing back squats, cleans, and bench presses and depth drop to bound. He adds that all up, and then he can look at that assessment and say, okay, this kid is a super elite athlete on the NPP scale for this age range and bracket, right? Elite, they're higher end. This kid over here is novice and he's younger. His score's lower, but it's sort of equal based off the assessment. And so we're going to try to, over the next year, start to really identify this. And we went through this period where we called it the 9 levels here at Garage Strength. We had these 9 levels of assessment, and now we're sort of like mining deeper into that 9 levels to make it a little bit easier so that you guys can test yourselves at home. You can put that information into Peak Strength, then we can get that program spit out for Peak Strength to then raise your NPP. Because if I'm a coach and I have a group of athletes and my NPP, even though NPP is always 0, but if my NPP is here and your NPP for your gym or your team is here, my team's going to win. So the whole goal is that we raise that average athlete. That's the whole point of existing in a gym, is that every person that comes in here, I want to cater my program to the most normal person. Because if I can develop a program that's going to help develop that normal person. Think about someone in this case, someone like Nick Singleton, who's got 2 brothers that are totally normal. Nick came in, he was totally normal. He was a normal kid, but he trained 4 to 5 days a week. And that's why he's a starting running back at Penn State as a true freshman, because we catered this entire system around the NPP. So when you're training in real life, that's got to be the whole goal. You've got to identify and establish where that NPP is so that ideally over time you raise that individual up, and then as you raise it up, the group gets better, and if the group gets better, your team gets better, and then when the team gets better, the individuals get better, and when the individuals get better, they have better performance at a high-end scale, and then it's just a snowball effect that leads to a better culture, and from a better culture, then you lead into just better performance in general for freaking society, right? So that's the whole point here. And the whole idea was that I wanted to come back, share with you guys some of the high-end stuff that we're doing behind the scenes when we're doing the actual membership live, so you can see how that, and in this case, the concept is known as the normal person player, how we take that normal person player assessment and then, funnel that into all these different sports based off of our last, 14 years of training here at Garage Strength, developing All-Americans, bringing it down. So I want to see if anybody cares about this. Hopefully it helps you. And if you guys have questions, let's go into some big time questions. Hopefully you have some questions about the normal person player. If not, I'm going to answer your specific stuff. It's been a while since we've had a public live, so I'm pretty excited to see who's out there. And also see if you guys have gotten into into Peak Strength. Did you head over to peakstrength.app to pick up your app? Because that has been released since we started talking. We got a lot of people in there and they're starting to crush stuff. So Sing, best exercises for sprinters. I'm going to answer Sing's question, okay? So best exercises for sprinters. If I'm sprinting, okay, and he's asking for exercises, he's not asking specific for weight room. We've got to look at start, drive, max speed, okay? This is essentially what sprinters are going through, okay? They have 0, 1, 2, 3, okay? And the old saying of, if I can adjust an inch now, okay, if I adjust my course, let's pretend I have no idea how to get from Philadelphia to England, okay? I have no idea how to cross the Atlantic. I've got a sailboat. And if I adjust my course by an inch, right now, later on, that adjustment leads to miles and miles of differential, right? It's pretty simple. If I adjust now in the beginning, when I leave Philadelphia, if I just dial to the north a little bit to get to England, that's going to give me, 100 miles or whatever that might be. And this is the big concept with sprinters. Okay, so if sprinters start well, if their 0, 1, 2, 3 steps are on point and they set it up well, they could take 3 to 4 less strides throughout that race. Okay, so if they set it up really well out of the start, that means they're going to be in better position, better posture. They're going to be then entering into the drive phase better, and then might take 1 less stride to get out of the drive phase to get to max speed. And if it takes me, 1 less stride to get out of drive phase, now I can get into max acceleration. I can hold that for 5 meters longer. If I hold max speed for 5 meters longer, I'm going to run a faster race. So for Sing's question, based off of sprinters, let's say this. I'm gonna outside of actually doing sprint starts, I'm going to say auditory technical coordination movements. Okay, so to be as explosive as possible, let's do 2-box power clean or 2-box power snatch or 1-box or a high hang clean, but it's on auditory command. That's going to help your start. Drive phase. Okay, I'm going to give you 2: single leg squat or step ups. I should put single leg squat or step ups. Using peak strength. Thank you, Kevin. Boom. Thanks for using peak strength. I hope you guys are doing a good job and you're checking that out. Head over to peakstrength.app, get in there. I use it every single day. I should share with you guys. I'm on the basketball program right now. I'm also losing weight because I'm trying to dunk. I don't know if you saw that on my Instagram, but I'm really trying to step that up. Now, going back to sing. Okay, so we got single leg squats and step ups for the drive phase. Okay, single leg squat and step ups. And then I'm going to do, outside of just doing high speed sprints, I'm going to do single leg bounds or something simple like hydro weight snatch to hip lock. And I want to hold plantar flexion. Okay, so start technical coordination with auditory command. Drive phase, single leg squats or step ups. Max speed, single leg bounds, hill sprints, or hydro weight snatch to hip lock. That's going to be my answer to Sing based off of his question on whether or not what those best exercises for sprinters are going to be. Sing, I hope that helps. Hope you feel better. Steve, I hope that your work slows down a little bit. Let's get into gotcha racing. What is your Mount Rushmore bodyweight exercises? Ooh, that's a good question from Max Bennett. Let's do Max Bennett's question just because that's a great question. Bodyweight exercise. Is it bad? Actually, no, I don't think it is bad. I was going to say, who's on Mount Rushmore? Isn't it like Teddy Roosevelt, Thomas Jefferson, Abraham Lincoln, and is it FDR or who's that last one? I said it's Teddy Roosevelt, Thomas Jefferson, Abraham Lincoln. There's one other one. I don't remember who the last one is. I've only total aside, I've been to Mount Rushmore. That might have been the biggest letdown of a national monument I've ever seen. Because I thought it was just going to be this huge mountain. And it was like the size of the garage. Sorry. Okay, body weight exercises. And I'm going to say, I'm not going to say plyometrics. We're not going to include plyometrics in here. Okay, we're just going to include straight sort of like resistance-based work. So let's do this, even though I'm going to add in one of these. I'm going to give you a 5. If I had to choose my Mount Rushmore of bodyweight exercises, I'm going to go with pull-ups, rope climbs. Rope climbs would probably be the best. Jump lunges, because I think they have a huge transfer to strength and mobility and speed. Pistol squats, I love for ankle mobility. And if you get people doing pistol squats, they get blown away. They get stronger at everything. And then dips. Dips, I do 5 sets of 20. Pistol squats, 5 sets of 9 each leg. Pull-ups, I do 4 sets of 9, 1 set to failure. Rope climbs, 6 rope climbs. One of my favorite new things to do on rope climbs is to go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and just back and forth. Kills your abs. Jump lunges, 5 sets of 4 each side. Hope that helps with that question. Max Bennett. I think that was Max, right? Yeah, Max Bennett. What are some basic explosive exercises? Let's go back into gotcha. How could I build strength but stay in my weight class for wrestling? Okay, so relative strength. Let's do a little bit of a lesson here, okay? Well, relative strength. Okay, I'm going to try and give you a little bit of a simple answer here, and this is for gotcha. So gotcha is in a weight class, okay? So my first question to challenge is going to be, if I'm in a weight class, right? If I am playing a sport that is weight class derived, that means I'm in weightlifting, I'm in boxing, I'm in wrestling, I'm in to a point, pee-wee football, right? So we have to, if we want to stay in that weight class, and weightlifting is a perfect example, okay? Weightlifting is all about who can get the strongest and stay in a weight class. So to do that, you have to increase your relative strength. So now we're going to do a little bit of a tree, a little bit of a flow chart here, okay? So if I want to increase my relative strength, that first thing, okay, that we need to improve is neural coordination. So what does this mean? Neural coordination means that I get more coordinated, so I have better inter and intramuscular coordination so that I can express greater power output with what I have. So it's basically taking the exact same size muscle, and I say this a lot in my videos, but enhancing structural innervation. Okay, so enhancing structural innervation is from neural coordination. Okay, so enhancing structural innervation. Okay, so this now is going to lead into myofibrillar hypertrophy. Okay, this is the exact hypertrophy that we're going to see happen, and it will lead to muscle mass, but it takes a bit longer to actually occur, and you will see strength improvements. Okay, so you'll see strength improvements. You'll increase in muscle mass, but it's not going to be as large, as blatantly large as like a bodybuilder. Okay, so now this would be the last part behind improving your relative strength is losing fat mass. Okay, so if I want to stay inside of a weight class, I need to improve my relative strength. So that means I have to improve my pound for pound strength. I have to do neural coordination work, which will lead to myofibrillar hypertrophy. And part of that is also losing fat mass. Okay, so I have to be on point with my diet if I'm inside of a weight class. Okay, I have to be on point with my diet. And I would say keep your carbs higher. Okay, a lot of people want to cut carbs. Keep your carbs higher. Only cut carbs when you're getting close to weigh-ins. Keep your carbs higher so you feel good during training. Keep your protein very high, okay? And then fat will fill in, okay? So now neural coordination. This means that we might do something like 10 doubles, okay? We might do 7 triples, or we might do 8 doubles, or we might do 10 singles on the minute. And then that mechanical tension, so this neural coordination and mechanical overload will lead to that myofibrillar hypertrophy, which will lead to an increase in relative strength, pound for pound strength. And in turn, it's going to keep you in that weight class. And while you're doing that with your training, you adapt your nutritional intake so that you then, when you adapt that nutritional intake, now you lose some of that fat, right? So that's some of those big things. Okay, so this is a question from Gulshan LC. Should a pro tennis player, what strength standards? So if I was a pro tennis player, okay, let's put this up here. Pro tennis, right? Typically, I'm going to be taller, and the thing that pisses me off the most with tennis players, and with the strength and conditioning population, is that strength and conditioning coaches treat tennis players like they're babies. Okay, if we look at tennis, it is one of the wildest sports that you can play. You're taking serves at 120 miles per hour for a professional male, or female 120 miles per hour, right? I guess males are going to go like 140, 150. And we have to identify, it's like watching pitchers pitch. We have to identify based off of their stroke how that stroke is going to impact the ball and then where the ball is going to go. That's how quickly we have to make that identification with our eyes. And then while we do that, we have to put ourselves in position as quickly as we can with dynamic trunk control and without falling all over the place. And then we have to slam on the brakes and decelerate quite a bit. So some of the main things that I would do, baseline, okay? Baseline work that we would do with a tennis player. I want to do simple stuff, easy to focus on deceleration, because if you look at things like the highest point of vertical force in most lifts across the board, vertical force, the highest it's going to be in any lift known to mankind, there's research to prove this, is going to be absorbing a clean. Okay, so if I can get my tennis players to catch a power clean, that's going to lead to a very high vertical force. Okay, so this is going to teach them how to absorb energy. Now, high vertical force, okay? Okay, so power clean. Now, the next thing would be I want to train their ability to decelerate. And this would be, who has to decelerate or change directions. We can look at football players, linebackers, and we can look at jumpers, long jumpers, high jumpers. It's the same situation with tennis players. Their feet are going to be planting way in front of their hips to decelerate and accelerate. So single leg squat, change of direction, okay, for single leg squat. Then we have to look at dynamic trunk control. They're running with a racket. It's a racket sport. So they have some type of racket situation. So I would say hydro weight reflexive work, okay? That's going to improve their DTC. That's paramount to tennis is dynamic trunk control. Okay, absolutely paramount. And then shoulder stability work. So this could be, even just simple stuff like pushing them a little bit with dumbbell external rotations, doing pull-ups, doing dumbbell benches, stuff like that. So that would be baseline, power clean. Body weight, maybe a little bit above body weight, but tennis players tend to be really tall. Single leg squat, work up to 200 pounds for reps of 5. That's very, very reasonable. To do that. Hydro weight reflexive work, it's making sure that that's done, taking something like the Euro step and effectively executing that as well as possible. And then shoulder stability work, being able to do 10 pull-ups, being able to do dumbbell external rotations without any pain with like 25s for sets of 7. That's going to be like the simplest way to lay out tennis players there. Do you have strength standards for all other sports like you do for football, for D1, D2, D3? So, Steve, to answer your question, yes. Now, this is where I think we went over the normal person player prior to you getting on the discussion here, is that one of the major things that we've been doing is taking test scores for normal people. Okay, so looking at 100 athletes that play football, 100 athletes that wrestle, 100 athletes that play baseball, looking at that middle person or the average person, averaging everything out and then identifying what that's going to be. So looking at wrestling and saying, all right, to be a Division I wrestler, you've got to have this strength level for power snatch, for power clean, for rope climb, for pull-ups. So we have a very, very good idea in some sports like swimming, basketball to a point. We have a very good idea for wrestling, very good idea, obviously, for football, very good idea for throwing, very good idea for sprint cycling. There's certain sports we don't have as much experience with, or we might only have, 5 to 10 athletes in those sports on a given point. So it's going to take us a little bit more time to develop that. But we do have quite a bit of those numbers. So yes. Dane, this is from Schoolers. Can a 16-year-old gain size, gain strength, gain speed during wrestling season with your program? My son plays multiple sports, football, wrestling, and track. Wants to grow from 167 to 175. I would say this, 100%, but their nutrition better be on point, their sleep better be on point, and they better be doing their mobility, and they've got a time. So Schoolers, you've got to time the workouts accordingly around his practice and around his competitive season. So I'll just give a personal example. For me, when I wrestled and I wanted to get really, really strong for football and for track, what I would do is I would lift really heavy and hard on a Sunday, and then on a Monday we would have a really hard wrestling practice. So then Tuesday I would do more hypertrophy work. We would have our matches on a Wednesday, and then after our wrestling match on a Wednesday, I would do my third lift, and that's where we would sort of go. Speed wise, this is a wild thing with wrestling. If you're doing wind sprints, like let's say you do 3 lengths of the mat, you can drastically improve your cutting ability as a wrestler by really focusing on how you cut on those like wind sprints, down, back, down. Okay, so you can definitely increase your speed. Steve, you have the football one that we sent over. I would say, Steve, for you, I think we might have a similar PDF for wrestling numbers. I mean, what kind of numbers would you want to see? What sports would you want to see? And maybe that's a question for everybody. Inside of Peak Strength, we've programmed for over 35 different athletes or different sports inside of Peak Strength alone. Inside of our gym, that number is closer to 50. all the way down to, I'm trying to think of the weirdest, I mean, pickleball, right now it's weird. It's getting super popular, but even programming stuff for that, programming stuff for, Highland games, that we've programmed for everything. So, okay, here's a really good, okay, for Samuel's got a good question. How often does a D1 player like Nick Singleton hit the gym? He's going to lift, according to Chuck Losey, their strength coach at Penn State, he's lifting 3 days a week. Sometimes he might only lift 2, minimum 2, maximum 3 days a week in season. How does a superset with a 5x3 explosive heavy lift along with 60 seconds of mobility and 2 minutes rest translate well? Does that translate well? I think it would be okay. I do think that would be okay. I'm not a huge fan of doing mobility inside that workout, but that's not bad. That's not bad at all. AJB is asking me a very good question here that I want to go into a little bit. So he's asking, what are your thoughts on the primary way kettlebell work? Primary, okay? Secondary, accessories. I'm not sure if you spell accessories this way. So when I'm laying out a strength training program, okay, AJB is asking, can you use kettlebells for a primary means of strength training? Now, my big question would be, first off, what are your goals? If you're going to use, to ask that question, I need to know your goals and what you need to adapt to. In resistance-based training, in strength and conditioning, we have to look at everything through adaptation. So can you adapt to stimulus from a kettlebell? Yes, clearly, right? 2, what are those goals? I believe that you can adapt really well to kettlebell-based training for endurance work. I also believe there's stability work, so improving co-contractions, dynamic trunk control work, grip work. All of those things are adaptations that we might see. 3, is it the best to use, let's say if I need to improve my absolute strength, to use very heavy kettlebells? Or is there something else that has a better transfer of training? Can you adapt with absolute strength to kettlebells? Yes. Is it the best? I would argue no. Can you still use it? Yes. Okay, so I would say not the best for absolute strength and for technical coordination. Not the best. But you can still do it. If that's not your goal, so then you have to work down. If I want to use it for secondary stuff or for accessory work, then it wouldn't be my primary means of training, but it would be my primary means of accessory work. So if I have somebody who has weak core or weak trunk, maybe they don't have great proprioception, they struggle with time under tension, then I'm putting them all on kettlebell work for accessories. Okay, that's going to be their primary means of training for accessory would be with the kettlebell. If I have a combat athlete, I might make the secondary work all kettlebell based. So it really is dependent upon the goals and upon the individual. I'm not going to say that you can't do it. If you follow every goddamn Dre on Instagram, his primary means, by all accounts that I can understand, I don't know him personally, but by seeing him on Instagram, his primary means of training is kettlebell work. It works. It works very well. Do I think it's the absolute best for sports performance? Probably not, but it's still something that should be used for sure. So that would be my answer to that. So Steve wondering, I have wrestling and football now, but I'm just slowly getting more into athletes. Division I soccer would be great. So maybe that's another question then, Steve, because I think that, and we're going to offend the Europeans out there. So for soccer, or the South Americans, for soccer numbers here and differentiating with women and men, dude, you know what I think is funny is I actually think that I think on a regular basis, if you took the population of female soccer players and compared that population to female athletes, and then you took male athletes and you have male athletes here, and then you compare the male soccer players, female soccer players tend to be much stronger than their male counterparts relative to other populations of of athletes? I'm going to answer that question. Tinder Hot is coming in and needs to be booted because they're clearly spamming, or they are a bot. Juan, $19.99. Boom. Thank you so much. Strength standards for bench press, squat, deadlift, barbell curl, weighted pull-ups. Wow. This is going to be a tough one here. Okay, so Juan is coming in with strength standards. Okay, strength standards. I'm so bad at writing on this small whiteboard. I've noticed that the reason why I just got this my new planner, and I'm trying to actually come out with our own planner. I'm thinking about it, but I just got this new planner, and I realized that I don't like the smaller planner because I just write like crazy, really, really large, and I'm seeing that on this whiteboard, right? So, Juan, my question would be, I'm running your hypertrophy program. I know some strong points and some weak points. I think this is where the question comes into play for me, Juan, is age. And if we go back to the beginning of this live of the normal person player, who are we comparing this group to? So if we're looking at, strength standards, we've got to think through who is that individual that we're catering towards, right? So what are your goals, really? What are your goals? But let's just say 20 to 40-year-old male. I'm just going to take a stab at it. 20 to 40-year-old male. I know my YouTube population pretty well. So we're going to go bench, okay? The other problem is we don't know body weight, right? So like that does have an impact. And so we're going to try and put in here body weight. Back squat, deads, barbell curl, pull up. And so we actually have a board here at Garage Strength. Shoulders, press, so like dumbbell military. Let's just do that. Let's just do that for now, okay? We actually have a board here. We call it the Grinder board. Sadly, it was created before Grinder, the app. But it basically has numbers that we use to base as like, if you can hit these numbers, like for a male, basically 2 times body weight, okay? If you're 1.75 to 2 times, you're going to be strong. If you're 2 times body weight, you're a beast, okay? So I'm 230. For me, that'd be a 460-pound bench, okay? That's pretty good, right? 2 times body weight. 1.75, you're good. You're solid. But I would say 2 times body weight for a bench press is very solid. I would say for squat, this is going to be 2.25 times body weight. Some individuals might even be higher if they've got shorter legs, okay? Deadlift, 2.25 to 2.5 times body weight, okay? 2.25 to 2.5 times body weight. Barbell curl, okay? So barbell curl, I would say typically this is going to be 0.6 to 0.75 body weight, okay? So if I'm 230 pounds, that's going to be like 140 to 175 pounds, somewhere in that range. And that's just math right off the top of my head, so I know it's not perfect. But that would be 0.6 to 0.75. If I'm doing a pull-up, okay? If I'm doing a pull-up, I like to be able to do a triple with somewhere around like 1 to 3 reps with somewhere around 0.5 body weight. Okay, so that's pretty heavy. That would be, for me, 115 pounds. But if I can do 115 pounds for 1 to 3 reps, I'm strong. So let's put 0.4, okay, 0.4 times body weight for pull-ups weighted, okay, for a couple reps, 1 to 3 reps. And then dumbbell military press, I think that if you can rep out, so let's say, using an example for myself, right? Dumbbells, so if I could do dumbbells with 120s, okay, for a set of 6 to 8 reps, I'm going to be pretty freaking strong with my shoulders. So I would say about body weight on the dumbbells, okay? So body weight for reps. Okay, so now on a pin press, that might be for like a set of 5 to 8 reps if I'm using a barbell. If I'm using dumbbells, I would add them up. So if I use the hundreds, you know, I'm at 200 pounds, I got them for 8 reps, I would try to get that up a little bit more, so about body weight. again, these are numbers that are I'm trying to make it as broad as I possibly can because the numbers are going to be, yeah, so 20% body fat for Juan, 185 pounds. So that would be where I would go with this to answer your question, Juan. I hope that helps. I know it's not perfect, but I think that these are really good numbers to shoot for. As someone who's training regularly, if you can shoot for these numbers and build towards them over time, you're going to see some of these areas you're really weak with, some of these areas are really strong. And that's the whole goal that we do inside of Peak Strength is that when, inside the app, we actually teach, like we've taught the app, and this is the AI part of Peak Strength, is that it learns what you've done, it learns what you've hit and progressed with in the past, and based off of that, it improves and caters towards those weaknesses. So that does help. I saw an article that Olympic lifting does not optimize power. What do you think of that? I think that's false. I haven't seen the article. I'd like to see it. Bare strength. How can I, as a physiotherapist into the strength and conditioning world with the intention of opening my own gym? I would say it's just word of mouth. And to me, a physiotherapist, to really help somebody, there's a point of using load, to work someone through healing and getting them stronger. They're eventually going to have to use load to recover from an injury. And that would be the argument would be you can identify injuries and identify structural integrity very well because you're a physiotherapist. I don't know if you're good or not, but if you're good, ideally you would be able to do that pretty rapidly. And then over time, that would lead to better performance for the individual. Just got a good question here. Any tips for students interning? We actually just got hit up with an email yesterday. And I think that the best thing that you can do as someone who might want to intern, and this would go also to bare strength, would be reach out to people that you want to work for them. You'll do free work. You'll do free work for somebody, and I want to come there for 2 to 3 days a week or 2 to 3 weeks, 2 to 3 months, and I want to work for free. I want to learn everything that you have to do, and I will work for free for you. Anything like that, reach out to people. For us here at Garage Strength in the past, we've done internships where we don't really pay, but we do offer housing and we do offer a little bit of a stipend. So you guys can apply for that when we open that up for the summertime. And I think that that's one of the best ways to learn is, especially if you want to open up a gym, you start to see how the gym flows, how it makes money, how it doesn't make money, where there might be problem areas. So I think that adds up. Juan, another $9.99. Boom. Thank you. Sounds good. I'm close and some of them need work on squat and deadlift for sure. Keep you all updated via email. And I apologize when I made a comment about bear mode last time. Appreciate your work. I don't remember the bear mode, Juan. Is bear mode is that talking to me as that I'm in the bear world? Jason, is that what that is? Is Juan talking about bear mode for me personally? You see that comment? What's interesting is that Russell Bowman is a guy who sometimes he comes in the chats, but I train him online. He front squatted 500 pounds for a double. Russell wants to call it masthead mode because he screwed up a text to me once. Instead of saying beast head or beast mode, he said masthead mode. And I actually sort of liked it because I was thinking like a mast, like you're above the boat, you're above looking down, and like you're accomplishing this high end. I think that's cool. So yeah, Juan, no, that's okay. I'm not offended. I only get offended when I get offended here and there, but I really only get offended when people say I suck at my job because then I just get sad. But otherwise, yeah. Oh, it's a weird body type a YouTuber was promoting bear mode. I mean, bear mode to me is like, yeah, whatever. Okay, let's take one more question, and then I gotta head down to train. Not me personally. I gotta go coach. Minimum equipment for a garage. That's a good question. Minimum equipment for a garage. Growing up, the only stuff that a 24-hour clean video, that'd be nuts, Steve. We actually talked about that. We did talk about that with like a bench press or me riding the assault bike for a day, which would be wild. as far as a minimal equipment, I would say bumper plates, a back squat rack, and an incline bench or a flat bench. So 3 things. And if you can set up a way to set up dips and pull-ups where it's just like a bar, dude, you can get everything done. You can get all that done. I have talked about riding the assault bike for 24 hours, riding my bike to work for every day. I've wanted to do weird challenges that we haven't ever done. I wanted to do one. My wife's in the other room working right now. I wanted to do one where we don't have lights on at night and to see how that impacts my sleep. I wanted to do one. Some of these weird ones. I walked a marathon backwards, like just real crazy ones. But we've just, we never went that route with the YouTube channel because we're trying to get more into helping you guys with these questions. I think a lot of the questions out of today's live chat are stuff that we really should do a better job with addressing in our videos too. So I appreciate a lot of this. 24-hour clean video. The whole thing with that challenge, with that 24-hour challenge, Steve, was that my sleep was so screwed up. It was brutal. Justin, we don't want to make the app cheaper because we're going to keep the app price the same. And we have, like, when you see what this thing is in a year, 2 years, it's going to blow your doors away. It's going to be absolutely phenomenal what we're going to have in this thing that we're working on right now, and we're not going to raise the price. So that's like one thing I would say to you about that. Dude, it costs, like, and this is the other thing. We don't have venture capital. This is all money from the business. It just goes right back into the company. So it's like, dude, we're not making a ton of money. We put a lot of money into the app, and we want to. It's again, I want Steve. We do have a military discount. You just got to email us. I want to make it clear too to you guys is that we have this vision, like we're coaching people for real. Okay, we're not just making Instagram posts. We're not just making YouTube videos. We're literally training everybody like at a very high level, right? It's real life what we're doing. And so the whole point is that I want to create this app that if you can't come train here at Garage Strength, you can do this at your Gold's Gym, or you can do this at your own garage gym, or you could do this at a local CrossFit joint or whatever. So now you have our gym in our pocket. And as we continue to add more things into the app, I think you guys are going to get blown away by it. I mean, our feedback already, and I'd ask if you've downloaded it, please, go in the Apple Store, go to the Google Play Store, and put in your actual your reviews as well, because that does mean a lot. You have no idea how much that matters to us. It's such a big deal. So I do just want to mention that. And it's like, and if you have ideas, we are constantly going to be adding stuff into this over and over again. And honestly, we've had some people say the only fitness app they've used that is a strength app that is better is Peloton. And Peloton's got a lot of venture capital in their app. So that's like one of the big goals that we have, is that we can just constantly improve this. And I think having these chats and then having our private chats as well is going to help us. I did want to bring up, next week, we're probably going to do a private discussion on Tuesday or Wednesday, because I travel next Thursday down to Peru. So we're going to do it earlier in the week. I'm glad we did this. I've also talked to Jason a bit. We want to have like 2 to 3 of those private discussions to help you guys behind that closed doors, to help you with your training and whatnot. And then also work into things like even a longer live chat, like a 2-hour live chat or something along those lines. So thanks for tuning in. It's been a while. I missed you guys. Hope you picked up our app, Peak Strength. Head over to peakstrength.app. Until next time, peace. I'm making noises. I'm going to keep making noises while I'm still live streaming.